Hello dear learners, let me continue the discussion on the organizational life cycle and stages. In the previous session, I have talked about the importance of organizational life cycle and the stages with respect to change. And we have talked about one of the models proposed by Anthony Downs, life cycle of bureaus, where we have talked about the role of different categories of the officials, officials with mixed motives and officials driven by self-interest, and the role in different life cycle stages of the bureau. As we talked about the three life cycle stage model proposed by Downs, right? Let's continue the discussion on the another very well cited model, which is called as integrated organizational life cycle framework. So if you can recall, in the previous session I talked about that in this paper Quinn and Cameron have reviewed many models which are prevalent in the organizational literature, theory literature. So Quinn and Cameron have reviewed various the models, and they categorized them into classification is as such that some of the models they focused on the structural aspect, some of the focus of these models is on the individual mentalities of the member, and some of the models they actually focus on the functional problems. So looking at all these models, reviewing all these models, Quinn and Cameron have proposed an integrated framework in their paper. Let's look at what is the idea here. So while reviewing the various models proposed by different researchers, the authors argued that all the models which were being reviewed, they actually follow the similar progression through life cycle stages, right? No matter which organizational phenomenon they actually focused on, whether it is the structural related aspect or individual mentality related aspect or the functional problem, largely it has been seen that all these models which have been presented in the literature, they undergo the similar progression, and the life cycle stages that they have talked about into four broad categories. So the original models which were there, they have a different life cycle stages names in terms of their stages from various from beginning to the end. But these authors Quinn and Cameron have come up with the progression in terms of which present the similarity in the models which they have reviewed, right? So the four stages which Quinn and Cameron have kind of proposed in the integrated framework by reviewing all the models are entrepreneurial stage, collectivity stage, formalization and control stage, structure elaboration, and adaptation stage, right? So they say that all the models which are proposed, they more or less kind of I would say present the similar kind of stage structure when the organization goes through different life cycle, right? Now according to authors, when it is in entrepreneurial stage, the focus is on early innovation, because it is just the inception phase of the organization. So focus is much more on early innovation, or we can say creativity, early innovation and creativity, because it is the inception phase for an organization, right? Then comes the collectivity stage. Collectivity stage is characterized by high cohesion in the organization, because now you see slowly the organization is entering into the evolutionary phase, right? And then of course very strong commitment in the organization. These are the characters of these stages. Formalization and control stage, this basically as the they indicate more rules and regulations to bring in the aspect of stability or institutionalization, various procedures or departments that you have to bring in, you have to institutionalize various procedures or the units in the organization in terms of policies, rules and regulation. Then in terms of structural elaboration and adaptation, it's basically focusing on expansion. Whatever work that you are doing, you start getting more domain expertise and expand, and of course on some of the character on decentralization is also there. So when we talked about the aspect of structure, we have talked about decentralization, centralization at length, right? Let's look at each stages in detail and find out what are the various characteristics of these stages in the different different phases of entrepreneurial inception and till the end, right? So if you look at the entrepreneurial stages are categorized by the functions like activities like marshalling of resources. There are a lot of ideas, entrepreneurial activities, but planning and coordination is a little in this because they are inception phase, and there's a formation of niche. Let's look at the focus of the organization in this category is on creating what? Creating the products and services, creation of products and services, right? And of course exploring the markets, then launch these products into the market. That's what is the the character of this particular stage. If you look at the leadership style, in leadership style we'll say that is typically informal, and you will say a lot of activities and decision making is held centrally. Centralization is kind of character of this particular stage, because the top person in the organization, the most of the authority and control lies with that person. So that is much more of very informal and centralized. The people who started this particular business or the organization, we consider founders, we can also call them as entrepreneurs. They are deeply involved in all the kind of business functions. So there's no actually the classification of the functions in the organization. So all the work is to be done by the people in the organization, right? Now if you look at the organizational structure, there is no very formal structural component is minimal. It is largely non-bureaucratic because they are just beginning, right? There are few people in the organization, they are the one who are doing the entire work. So structure is largely non-bureaucratic structures, few formal, very less formal rules, and the jobs are not very well defined, and decision making but is very centralized, because founders or the people who started the business or entrepreneurs, they are the one who take the entire decision, right? Work environment, since there are few members, of course including founders, they have to do a lot of work, entire activities in the organization have to be performed by these people. So of course when the required activities are more and there are less number of people, number of hours that these people will be working on the things is much more, right? Control is based on the personal supervision, because few people are there and the founders, so they are the ones who takes care of the control related activities. Now at this stage, the drivers of the growth for the organization is basically a lot of ideas, novelty, and the kind of innovation they can bring in their activities, right? So these are some of the activities that the entrepreneurial stage in any organization you will see, mostly these kind of character in terms of organizational life cycle stage of entrepreneurial activities. So you will see this, right? They will focus on getting the resources, a lot of focus on entrepreneurial activities, much more effort is to be devoted into the activities of the organization, so hence working for longer hours in the organization. So that is basically the character of this particular stage, right? Now then what happen as the organization tries to do more and more, right, in terms of growth expansion, the organization enters through the collectivity stage, right? So collectivity stage, what happen is largely you will see the communication and the structure is still informal, because this is the phase they are going from the entrepreneurial stage to the collectivity stage. So you'll see communication and structure is largely informal. There is a sense of collectivity in the system, again extended work hours because they are expanding. There is a sense of mission among the people in the organization. The organizational member continue to innovate, and there is a lot of high commitment. We talked about there also high cohesion and high commitment is the character, right? So the focus is of this particular stage is the organization then begin to set clear goals and direction. and of course the employees alignment with the organizational mission, because we talked about sense of mission. So employees started getting more aligned to the idea of organizational goals, organizational mission, right? Now leadership style, what happened is very strong, because we are talking about the one man show or one person show, because it's just still beginning. Centralized leadership is present, still the decisions are to be taken at the central level, but of course at the same time slowly a delegation of departments and hierarchies are going to started to form. Okay, the structure, there is a hierarchy of authority, and some minimal level of division of labor could also be there. Departments, they begin to take shape. Job roles are slowly getting to evolve in terms of more formal structure, more well defined jobs will come into picture. Now in terms of work environment, if you see, in the collectivity stage, there is a sense of unity in the members, high commitment to the mission of the organization, because we talked about alignment of the people with the organizational mission, and also the role of leadership is crucial at this stage to bring in that kind of alignment, because we talked about the role of leader is to uh, ensure the right fit between the people and the vision. So they should share that vision so that they can align their efforts with the organizational growth and success. People are highly motivated, right? And of course they again work for more hours, extended work hours, for the increase of the work output. Communication, if you look at, there's largely it is informal, as I've mentioned, but slowly formal systems are beginning to appear in the organization across various departments which have just tried to form in the organization, right? Now what happened is more growth expansion, it lead to a stage of called as formalization and control stage, which is more and more rules come into picture. The structure of the organization is moving towards more stabilization, focus on efficiency and maintenance. There is a conservatism as a value, status quo, institutionalized procedures, more and more formal procedures and units will be formed and more institutionalized, right? So focus, if you look at, is on the stability and efficiency through formal systems put in place. The procedures will be well defined and standardized, and there are controls which are put in the system, right? Leadership style, the top management, if you look at, now you see that we have moved from the entrepreneurial stage, from collectivity stage to formalization stage. So what will happen, much more focus will be now on planning strategically, right? Long term goals are to be to be considered. Vision is important. So what happened is slowly when the organization expand, the day-to-day activities and the continue the exploitation activities in terms of working on daily activities, it is then passed on to the middle level. So top management much more focus on the exploration activities, long-term thinking, strategic planning, and the things related to vision, expanding the organization. That's what is the idea here. So growth, if you look at the structure, more and more structured departments come into picture. As we talked about stable structure, there are roles, a hierarchy, and also functions. If you look at the functions in the organization, they again started to be formalized. There will be human resource specialist, there will be more added staff, marketing functions, operation functions. So formal operations comes into the picture. Now employees, in terms of work environment, if you look at, they follow very well defined processes. There is a reporting mechanism in the hierarchy. There are subordinate superior relationships, right, with less direct communication across levels. So because there are more formal institutionalized procedures for the communication in place, so ultimately the communication channels become more formal following the hierarchy. There are also control systems put in place of often through more rules and standardized procedures. So that's what we are looking at in terms of the characters of the formalization and control stage, right? Then the final stage is more of elaboration stage. So the structure get more elaborated. There is a decentralization, domain expansion, adaptation, and renewal. Let's look into the the characteristics of this particular stage. So if you look at the elaboration stage, the focus is on maintaining stability, right? The focus becomes maintaining the stability of the system of the organization, and there will be lot of encouragement for collaboration and of course adaptability. we have talked about this. Adaptability and collaboration becomes important at this stage. Leadership is then more of delegation is there, decentralization is there, right? Different teams and divisions and departments will have much more delegation and with less emphasis on centralized control, because now the organization is has expanded. There are number of departments. Different departments are responsible for different kind of activities. So in that way you will see that the organization will have formal functions, who is going to supposed to be doing what kind of function. So that kind of centralized control goes down the hierarchy with different departments, right? Structure is divided into many different teams, right, which operate independently, right? So that it leads to maintaining the adaptability, agility, kind of function in the organization. Otherwise, if it is not the case, it will be very difficult to respond to the changes in the environment outside. If you look at the work environment is basically more cross-functional teams. The organization becomes more team-oriented structure, team-focused, teamwork is there. There are various task forces which are formed to address the the issues collaboratively. Social controls and self-discipline reduce the need for excessive formal rules. People, they started taking responsibilities, so there is no need for excessive formal rules. Communication and control is the character becomes more fluid, right? There are interdepartmental collaboration, so that there are quicker responses to the internal and external challenges, right? So these are some of the characteristics of the elaboration stage, right? Now 4 stages, if you look at as proposed in the Quinn and Cameron's framework, according to the authors, these particularly will actually in terms of similarity, you will see different names in different models of these stages, but you will see that character wise is the same kind of the I would say character or the line you will see in terms of how these organizations are going to change. Even if you try to compare it with the Downs model that we have discussed in the previous session, you will see similar kind of thing. For example, struggle for autonomy as a stage will be much more related to the entrepreneurial stage of this thing, right? If you look at the growth phase, we'll say that collectivity stage. And then if you look at the deceleration, low growth, so you will see that that kind of connection between the different life cycle stages there in connection with what Quinn and Cameron has mentioned. So these are the broad categorization which Quinn and Cameron has talked about, right? Okay, now just to the summarize of these organizational life cycle stages as per the framework of Quinn and Cameron, let's quickly look at the various stages and how in terms of these things look like. Just it's a basically a conclusive kind of concluding slide on stages of the Quinn and Cameron's framework. So if you look at the entrepreneurial stages, in this case, the structure will say that it's largely informal structure. The structure is informal, and we'll say that there is a one-person show, because that's the person who is the founder of the organization, right? In case of product and services, you will say there is a single line of product and services, right? There are not many category of products and services in the system. Focus is on single product or service. Reward or control systems, they are more personal, individual specific, right? And the if you look at the control system is basically more paternalistic. Control lies in the hand of one person who is the head of the that particular organization, somebody who starts the business, more entrepreneur, the founder of the business, right? Who is responsible for bringing innovation? They are the owners, or you can say founders of the organization. They are the one will take care about the innovation. And if you look at the category of the officials proposed by Downs, you will see zealots are the one who will be talking about innovations and ideas and things like that. Goal of the entrepreneurial stage is to take care of survival, right? We also talked about the survival threshold in Downs model also, right? After the organization get resources and the focus is on actually reach that stage of achieving the survival threshold. Top management style, if you look at in terms of, it is largely individualistic style, because there are a lot more personal interactions between the people, and it's more entrepreneurial top management style focuses on more innovation, creativity in the organization, right? Then comes the collectivity stage. Now, according to this, the structure largely will be mostly informal only. There will be not much of the formality, largely informal, but with some procedures, because now you are slowly expanding to the in the growth phases you are entering. Mostly it will be informal, but some procedures will start getting into the system, right? Now, product line also, you will see that major product services that you continue to do in the beginning, you will just try to get more variations, more product and services with variations into the products and services. That becomes the part of this particular stage. If you look at the reward and control systems, you will say still it is more personal, right? And the control systems are actually related to the contribution to the success of the organization, right? Innovation is being done by now employees, people are in the system, employees of course, and the manager, who are of course the owners or entrepreneurs of the organization. They become responsible for bringing in innovation, look for the creativity. Goal here is to growth, right? In case of Down's model, it is more of acceleration effects, rapid growth stage if you look at, right? Top management style becomes more charismatic, as mentioned by Daft in terms of this particular stage. And also we talked about this character of the zealots also, being charismatic and form the group and get the support in terms of resources and power and get converted into the bureaus. Formalization, as the name indicate, the focus becomes more on formal procedures, right? Such things like division of labor, as we have discussed in the functions of principles of the management. We talked about this. Now, in case of lines, in case product and services, the line of the product and services expand. More and more number of products and services keep on adding into the business because you are looking for more growth. In terms of reward and control system, since you have entered into the formalization stage, it's basically very formalized systems of control systems are put in place to take care of the coordination or integration across the departments. Innovation is by different departments, because now more and more departments are being formed, units are being formed, so different department will take that kind of the initiative to take care of the innovation. Goal is to market expansion. You have to expand market expansion along with maintaining the stability internally, internal stability, right? Then top management style become more delegation, and of course at the same time there will be also control, delegation along with control. These are some of the character of the stage. Then in terms of elaboration, if you look at the structure, is much more of teamwork. Teamwork is become more important, right? Also some component of bureaucracy will also come, because now the organization is expanded, number of people more, complexity increases, so some kind of bureaucracy in terms of control is also required. In terms of products and services, there are multiple products and services are in the business line because of the expansion. Reward and control systems are becoming very, very extensive to take care of the integration, the aspects in the organization. Innovation. So now you'll see that there will be very much formal institutionalization of R&D department within the organization, which takes care of the aspect related to the innovation. The goal is to maintain the reputation and growth of the organization. And top management style is basically focuses on the team approach. We talked about cross-functional teams, teams coming together to think of the issues and solving the problems collaboratively, right? So this is the discussion related to the integrated framework of Quinn and Cameron, with different stages in terms of entrepreneurial, collectivity, formalization and elaboration. And I've discussed about various the characteristics of the particular organization, how they will grow from different stages, from entrepreneurial to the elaboration. As Quinn and Cameron mentioned, various other life cycle models are also available, but I have discussed only the model which is much more prevalent in the, or I will say much more known or proposed in the context of public sector organization, that was Down's model. This model is basically more of an integration. This include the discussion of other models which are already available, prevalent in the organizational literature. That's why I discuss about this model also in this particular module. Now, after the organizational life cycle stages and the understanding of various stages and the the character of the stages, now I will continue the discussion on the aspects of organizational change, responding to change, what are the different issues with respect to change, how to make change more successful, what are the reason for the organizational failure in the subsequent sessions.